We cover the latest topics and trends making waves across the sport and chat with our industry's most prominent leaders, so your golf business stays one step ahead. Welcome to Golf Business Live, powered by Club Caddy.
Here's NGCOA CEO Jay Karen
and owner of Augusta Ranch Golf Club and Vice President of the PGA of America, Don Ray.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 106th PGA Championship. This is the 2:35 starting time. The referee for this group is PGA of America golf professional Ted Antonopoulos. Now on the tee, please welcome from California, Xander Schauffele.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Hey, welcome to the June 2024 Golf Business Live episode, powered by our friends at Club Caddy. As you can see today, Don, I'm not at the home office with my Club Caddy neon sign behind me. I am in Brattleboro, Vermont on Maple Street, of all names in the New England to be named Maple Street. I'm coming to you live here. I'm on vacation this week, actually. So I thought, let's carve out a little time for our show. We do this anywhere these days, right? I mean, everything is mobile. I'm Jay Karen, CEO of the NGCOA, and the ham to my egg, Don Ray, Vice President of the PGA of America and owner of Augusta Ranch. Don, we have been doing this for over 4 years, and the technology just keeps on getting better. You can watch this on YouTube, Facebook, X, LinkedIn. In fact, I think today we are streaming live through my LinkedIn profile as a test to see if we have any drive-by folks wanting to stop by and watch the show today. And we have this is a special show today, Don, because we have no guest. It is you and me. We are going to talk about what's been happening in the industry. We've both been traveling. Lots been going on since our last show. We missed April because we had a congressman lined up, but you know how schedules get crazy with members of Congress, and so we had to skip that one. But we are back, and so as always, my first question to you is, how are things at home in Mesa?
Well, I finally am home, right? I mean, it was. I appreciate you showing the PGA Championship deal. That's it's so fun to announce, and the amount of, my phone's in my pocket when that happens, and my phone starts vibrating because of friends, people who play Augusta Ranch Golf Club. They're like, dude, I saw you on television. And we talk to CBS to make sure that graphic says on there, Don Ray, owner operator of Augusta Ranch Golf Club, because we want everybody to know that we're just golf.
Uh-oh, is Don frozen? I think we're having technical difficulties here, folks. All right, he's coming back in. Let's see if this works. Sorry, all of you watching live. I'm getting thanks, Kurt Albertson, for my text that says he's frozen, or Elaine, he's frozen. Thank you for everybody for chiming in from Kurt Albertson. Love you, guy. All right, let's see if Don can get patched back in, because you do not want to hear me talk for 45 minutes. That is for sure. Hey, Elaine. Yes, I am going to visit Brattleboro Country Club while I'm there. He is.
Well, I don't know what happened. Now, I'm not live streaming on LinkedIn. All of a sudden I lost everything, and we just put in a brand new Wi-Fi router here, so I was really feeling good about today. We just talked about technology.
You're here, baby. You're here.
I'm here. So anyway, what I was going to say was that yes, very cool. To do the announcement, because of everybody who gets to see that Augusta Ranch Golf Club, owner operator, and everybody's digging it in there, and they're reaching out, and that's cool, because that's all we are as golf professionals. So even though on the governance side we have these roles of leading the 31,000, but cool. And, and I would say too, I've only been home 3 days over the last 6 weeks, Jay. And because basically everything the PGA of America touches, we've done in the last 6 weeks, whether it was National Golf Day, the PGA Works Collegiate Championship, our PGA Professional Championship. I went to the Minnesota section meeting, then to the PGA Championship, then to the Senior PGA Championship, and a lot of phone calls in between. So it's certainly been exciting, but it is nice. It's just me and you. And as far as Augusta Ranch, walking around the place, you do get used to the smell of your own house sometimes. So when you're gone from your house for 6 weeks, seeing all the things that the staff has done while I've been gone, I just love to see the care and concern and that the staff is doing. It makes you. On Sunday, I was in Brunswick with my daughter. And I went to church with her on Sunday. And I brought this up in my Bible study this morning, is to see my daughter take me to her church and to see her worship and to listen to her pastor. For the first time, I didn't take her to my church. She took me to hers. And it makes you feel good when you're like, hey, maybe some of these things that you impart, whether it's on a staff or it's your own, your own family, you're just trying to leave it better than you found it.
Sometimes the dividends take years. Sometimes those dividends take years to actually realize. It's a waiting game.
Amen. So wild 6 weeks, but certainly a lot of stuff happened in the golf industry. And glad it's just you and I. It's there's plenty to talk about.
There is, and we encourage folks to use your social channels to put comments or questions in there. We'll certainly try to get to some of those, but. Elaine, I will be visiting Brattleboro Country Club just up the street, and Melanie Bose, one of our great members, she was at National Golf Day. She's always at our conferences, so I'm going to stop by, hopefully hit some balls and visit with her for sure. But to listen to you announce those names, I got to imagine it's quite an operation to just get the pronunciations right for everybody doing announcements. Because I know, like, you do some announcing. I know Kathy Harbin's done some, and I don't know how you guys figure out who does the announcing. And you are celebrities, in our little world, especially with Full Swing. When we're watching Full Swing on Netflix, oh, there's Kathy, there's Don. It's kind of exciting. But how do you figure out the pronunciations, and who's in charge of all that? There's got to be like an operations just on pronunciation of names.
Well, hey, anything that looks like it's easy means a lot of work went in behind the scenes, right? Whether it's a golf tournament here at Augusta Ranch or the PGA Championship. So the announcer schedule set up with all the board of directors. It's random until Saturday and Sunday. And then on the first tee of Saturday and Sunday, we try to have our outgoing board of directors class get some opportunities there because it is a cool thing to do. The secretary of the PGA of America does the last 4 or 5 times on Saturday. The vice president does the last 4 or 5 times on Sunday. So that was my last time ever. You'll never hear me announce again at the PGA Championship because I'll just be handing out trophies from here on out once I'm president. But there is a sheet. All the pronunciations are on there. You practice them the night before. You know the names that you're going to have. Certainly, if you're announcing, just say at the KPMG in 2 weeks, right? I mean, some of the LPGA players have more difficult names. And so you practice and you want to say it right because what you don't know, Jay, is that especially when you're doing groups that are going to be on CBS, if CBS puts a microphone, you got a headset in at that point because the producer's queuing you up when to go and when not to go. Typically, once the ball stops rolling in the fairway, you announce the next group. The starter points at you, and then you announce the first group. But when CBS is in charge, their producer is in your ear saying, "Not yet, Don, I'm going to count you down." And so your heart starts racing. And what's funny is I'll tell you a quick story. Somebody announced Colin Montgomery as Colin Montgomery one year. And this is a cautionary tale for all board of directors in the PGA of America, is get the pronunciation right because mispronouncing some names can hurt their feeling. Now, the very last name I'm ever going to announce in my life is going to be Colin Morikawa. And all I can think of is don't say Colin, don't say Colin. And I wrote on my piece of paper, I wrote caw like 7 times. Like, I'm thinking to myself, I've never had a big mistake. This is my last name in the history. I know Colin very well, sit next to him during the past champions dinners. He's a good dude. He lives in Las Vegas. I'm from Las Vegas. And I was like, do not say Colin Morikawa, please, God. And you have no idea. The demons that were flying around in my head. Oh my gosh, dude.
Oh my gosh, that is too funny.
Scared to death.
Well, maybe this isn't your last gig. You've got the voice and the inflection. You're talented at this. You might have a full-time gig announcing things, right? I mean, this is your jam.
I do have the face for radio, so as long as I'm on television, I can do it. But I do enjoy it. But I do think it's such a privilege as a board of director to do it, and to take that away from somebody, I think would be a bummer. But I will tell you, I tell the board, it's like, hey, this is the PGA Championship. Now you don't want to go all Michael Buffer, right? This isn't WWE, so be careful. But I do think a little inflection just to show that this is our championship. Dude, this is what PGA professionals do, is run golf tournaments. This is what we do for a living, and this is our PGA Championship. Yeah. So why not bring your best?
No, I dig it. It was great. It was great to be there, wearing my shirt here. I was on site for a couple of days. It was awesome. What a great NGCOA member. They've been a member for a long time. Great facility. Good people there. Yeah. So we have only about 30 minutes or so today now. So I want to dive into a few issues. I know you got a couple things on your mind that we're going to get to, but I definitely want to get your take on a recap of National Golf Day, because you were there. Obviously, we were there, and I felt, and I've been doing this. I guess this is my 8th or 9th National Golf Day myself. Is this one just there was a turning point here, right? I went to these meetings with the members, the senators, the congressmen, and the vibe that I'm getting and the feedback that we're getting now, Don, is more where the member is saying, how can we help you? What can we do now to advance this bill, which is HR 3124, to get golf off the sin list? I won't belabor all that. Most of the watchers, the audience here, knows about this bill. But to feel the tide turn, where we've got folks like Claudia Tenney and Jimmy Panetta and these others asking us, what can we do? Even Miss Tenney in the office, like, how about we create these little miniature golf scorecards, about the House resolution, and hand them out on the House floor to our fellow members. And someone said, well, let's get a golf ball and get 3124 on it. Could Titleist does the custom numbers. Can we get 4 numbers on there somehow? Get 3124 out there, and this, it was a big deal. We picked up some co-sponsors. We picked up Senator Graham like that, when he just kind of heard what was going on. So I don't know, what was your impression? But I felt like this was a turning point.
Isn't it painful to be an overnight success? I mean, it's great that everybody's still, they're starting to figure it out. Hell, it's like barter tea times, right? All of a sudden operators are going, hey, this barter might be bad. You and I have been preaching that for 10 years, right? The NGCOA has been preaching that for 10 years. So these legislative advocacy, I am so glad that it's actually coming to the forefront and it's making a difference. And I think it's just constant pressure. You've done a great job. The NGCOA has always done an amazing job. PGA of America has been on the bigger scale, but now they're getting down with the NGCOA to local level and getting into the state legislators, and the United States representatives and senators for all the different states. And so that's all I can think of, Jay, is that it's this constant pressure, being in front of them and knowing that we're an industry that's not going away, that we do raise more money for charity than other sports combined. We are just single businesses, right? We're just small businesses. We're just trying to make it. We employ people. I mean, hell, my payroll here at Augusta Ranch is not about $160,000 a month. That's my little teeny golf course is employing and sending out salaries and wages for over $160,000 a month. And so we do these things. So yes, I was super excited for the enthusiasm from both sides, from the new people that had showed up for the first time to National Golf Day, to the legislators who all of a sudden eyes were open of like, why would you be on the sin list? Mm-hmm. Good question. We've been asking that for a long time. And so, yes, I am pumped for that. And I'm going to continue this pressure on behalf of the NGCOA and the 31,000, to be honest with you, when I'm president of the PGA of America. I think we have to be in those rooms. I think they want to listen to constituents. And I think there's nobody better than a golf professional or a golf course owner or superintendent being in that room and saying, hey, these things affect my life. And golf is good for you, by the way. It's good for the economy, but it's also good for people. And we haven't even begun to tell that story. I can't wait till the research comes out on that as we prove out that golf is good for somebody, as I know we're going to talk about mental health, physical health, family health.
A couple things that I've observed lately. One is the tone and tenor has changed on golf in Washington for sure, because if we've been doing this for 10, 15 years, and a lot of the lobbyists that we've had over the years have always kind of said to the legislation that we want to push, kind of now's not the right time. Let's do it in the rooms, quietly, win favor and get them on our side kind of quietly. And I've always thought, what are we afraid? What are we ashamed of? is because of the perceptions and the oh, golf is elitist and all of these things that are perceptions, but they're not correct, obviously. And we've spent 15 years telling the story, telling the story, telling the story. And even along that time, Don, I always felt like we should be talking about this publicly, but finally, um, it feels like golf is in this mental space if there was a negative space and a positive space, it's like in the positive space of all these people in Washington. So it's our time, right? So that's something that I really picked up on, but also, which means we need to use this momentum and get those co-sponsors and get this bill done, obviously, which is easier said than done, but we got to do it. Also, recently I was on a trip. You're talking about the goodness of golf here, right? What golf does. And I was on a trip. I gotta think this through. I'm kind of spitballing with you here on this one, but I was at Big Cedar Lodge a couple weeks ago in Missouri, right, with some NGCOA members and some great folks from Yamaha Golf Cars, and we played Paynes Valley, and we got to see what Johnny Morris built with the Bass Pro Shop thing, the aquarium, and the amazing displays that he has of all of these bucks on the wall and all bison, and it's mind-boggling how amazing. It occurred to me and a few others that isn't it interesting how we walk through these halls and it's all about hunting, right? Killing animals. And I don't know this very well yet, but it's like, but they've claimed the conservation word. Like, we are conservationists, but you're walking through all these carcasses, right? So it's like this kind of cognitive dissonance a little bit, but the hunting industry has successfully claimed conservation. We've got this thing in Charleston called the Southeast Wildlife Exposition. It's all about hunting and fishing and all this kind of stuff, and all the funds and proceeds go to conservation. It's like, I don't get it. How did hunters and fishermen and how do they claim conservation when the activity that they do seems to be taking the life away, right? I got to learn more about this. I'm sure it's about controlling populations and all that, I'm sure. But golf, you think about the environmental side. The environmental thing is one that we still haven't crossed that Rubicon yet, where everybody can think golf is good, right? We're still convincing people we're doing better. We use less water, we use less inputs. But to the layperson, what they're thinking right now is still, but you use a lot of water, you use inputs. Good on you for reducing it. It's good. But we know, and that you are a steward of the land. You're not gonna kill your own land. You're gonna take care of it, right? So how do we in golf change the narrative on the environmental side so that we are seen as environmentalists, like the hunters are seen as conservationists, right? How do we do that and tell that story? It's going to have to be with data. It's not going to have to be there. There we are. This is us at Big Cedar, right? It's like, you're standing in this room. It's like, conservationists, I don't understand, and again, I've got some learning curve to do here. And I'm sure after this, I'll get a lot of texts and emails. Oh, this is what you need. This is why we're conservationists. Great. That's great. I want to learn. I think we got to figure out, that's like the last thing. Like, golf is healthy. You're going to burn calories. You're going to, you're socializing with people. It's great for your mental health. It's great for your physical health. All, its economic impact is 102 billion. All of these wonderful things. That environmental, I guess, leg of the stool somehow, because we know it, but the world needs to know that we are environmentalists here, and so we got to figure out how to do that. But that's something that I learned from this trip to Big Cedar Lodge, that we got to figure out a way that so Congress and others, know it just like we do, right?
No doubt, and they need those catchphrases. I guess welcome to Red Evans world and the 20,000 GCSA members, right? The superintendents have been pushing best management practices, BMPs, for a long time, and we're stewards of water, not consumers of water, and that, especially in Arizona. I got to give it to the Arizona Alliance for Golf. Greg Trias, a golf course owner out here, put his money where his mouth is, put his intentionality behind the efforts to say, Arizona, it's over $4 billion economic impact, less than 2% of the water usage. And if you Google right now, Arizona Alliance for Golf, I would call this a best practice of what every state can and maybe should be doing, of getting all the groups together. If you look at who's on the board or the committees of the Arizona Alliance for Golf, it is everybody. It's builders, it's supers, it's club managers, it's owners, it's pros, it's architects, it's everybody. Because if you're making a living in this game, then we're all on the same team, and this is our party, and we've allowed the perception of our sport to be this elitist thing. It's just not what happens at my facility for certain, right? A little par 61, and you're right. We just the data's there,
Yeah.
the story's there. We have to frame it in an easily consumable. It's like, I came up with that line, some play for millions, we get millions to play. I wanted everybody to know right away the difference between the PGA of America and the PGA Tour is they play for millions, we get millions to play. And it's very easy to remember. And so when I was the president of the Southwest section, it was less than 3, more than 3, and the 6C. At that time, we were using less than 3% of the water. We were more than 3 billion. And the economy of Arizona is the 5 Cs of Arizona. And we thought courses should be the 6th. And little things like that. And I think that's why with me, you, and Red, and the builders and everybody, architects getting together. And like you said, there's this Hollywood side of golf. I dig it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Spectators, viewers love it. But at the end of the day, where the rubber meets the road is where we're all at. The people that have skin in the game are the ones who sign the fronts of these checks. And that's what it's all about. And I think the more collaborative we get, and I'm certainly going to be intentional about it. I know you are too. And I know we've talked to Red about it, is that's what I'm excited, because then we are the loudest voice in the room, and not just about charitable, which we kill, or good for you, which is obvious, but also good for the environment. Because that's a great story for the new generation, right? They want to keep their planet healthy.
Yeah.
And golf is good for that. Not bad.
We have to find a way to, as Barry is saying here, it is messaging. The message is not, even though we should be very proud of the water use reduction, of the golf, and doing it and keeping the quality high, right? These are things we should be proud of. But to the layperson, again, it's not about we're using less water, Joe Public. That's not the message. The message is how we take good care of water, how we take good care of land and air. And here's how we do it. And we have all these great programs like the First Green and Audubon, and GCSA's got all of these wonderful things going on. And so we got to figure out a way to get behind Rhett and what they're doing, but do it in a collaborative way. Like you said, how can we turn this around? So, okay, let's change topics here real quick. I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about this whole secondary market thing that's happened at Tee Times, that's happening right now. The news that got headlines a couple months ago was this Los Angeles situation where the municipal golf courses in Los Angeles. And I don't know all the great details here, but I know that someone was grabbing up the high demand times and they were reselling them off the books, right? So if you wanted to get Saturday morning, you're going to have to pay a premium and pay someone else other than the online tee time provider. And I know they've nipped this in the bud somehow by trying to have a system where you got to have a deposit when you make the tee time reservation. And so I know they're figuring it out, but it's open. This is not the only conversation I'm having right now, Don, about the secondary market of tee times. Now we're in a high demand environment right now. So, you can get rosy about the high demand times and what could be done here. You never know when the economic cycles turn, and is the secondary market going to be the same? But what I'm seeing out there is this high interest. I'm seeing the restaurant industry too, this high interest in grabbing the high demand times and upselling them, right? And the restaurant industry is happening without the restaurant owner's permission or even knowledge. Like you can make a reservation, an open table, a resi or whatever, and then sell it to someone. There's a website, I think there's a marketplace where you can try to sell these high demand restaurant reservations and for a premium. It's not illegal, but it's questionable, right? Because the restaurant owners have no clue. The locals can't get into their local favorite restaurants because people are grabbing them up to sell to visitors and tourists, right? So it's like, okay, that's the restaurant industry. The golf industry, there are high demand times, as we know. How do you feel about players entering the space? Say, listen, not just grabbing them and reselling them without your permission. What about grabbing them with your permission and trying to resell? Let's say I buy a foursome, and golly, I got that foursome Saturday morning at Torrey Pines. I think I can sell it for a bunch more, make a little bit more money, or I might not be able to show. We got to cancel. Can I sell it to someone, right? And what if the owner or operator got to participate in the transaction, got to participate in that upselling? It's a new world. It's a kind of a brave new world to think about someone else selling your high demand times for a higher price. But if you're the guy that made the tee time and you're reselling it in an up and up kind of environment, how do you feel about that? What's your cautionary tale, or what's your optimism on something like that?
Well, hey, ticket scalpers are ticket scalpers, right? I mean, this is what they've been doing it for venues for a long time. And all of a sudden, hey, look at us post COVID. We've got some in-demand product, and all of a sudden we become a business opportunity for some people who want to scalp tee times. And I think the NFL kind of answered this question. They decided that they were going to own the secondary market too. And so now, if you can't make it, you give your season tickets back to the NFL. They'll resell them. They'll cut you a check, and they can control the secondary market. I'm not here to say I'm an expert on what the NFL has done and if it's even working, but all I know is I've certainly seen that when I went to go buy Pittsburgh Steelers tickets, and try to see a game at Heinz Field. And so, well, I don't think it's Heinz Field anymore. I might have my sponsor wrong, but what I would say is this: it's inevitable, but it's also the reason why disintermediation between you and your customer is a bad deal. I mean, we all want a monogamous relationship, certainly at home, but certainly at our businesses. And that's not going to happen all the time. People play 3 to 5 different golf courses, and that's okay. But I think if you as a golf course owner, your why has to be that I want a one-to-one relationship with my customers. And that's why anytime you give up the rights to your tee sheet without any control whatsoever, you're going to allow that person to come in there and do that for you. Now, whether that's through an API, a technology, that's been out there for a long time, it's time for us to take our tee sheets back. Now, I don't know, is there a tee sheet software company out there right now that will allow somebody to take this tee time and instead of cancel it, if they know it's a high demand time, be able to sell it back to us, and then we know we could resell it? I don't know, but there's some smart tech guys out there, and with AI, I'm sure the algorithms can be written and the code can be drawn up to make that happen. And so I think it's inevitable, and I think it's something that operators have to understand, that the why of everything that we do, and then we can base decisions on that, has to be, I need to keep a one-to-one relationship with my customer and let them know that they come to me first if they have to cancel. And if they've got something of value, I hope they make some money on it. I get it. But, how do you build defenses to make sure that they're not just buying tickets to the football game so that they can resell them to make cash when they're not really a fan of the team? And that is going to have to be reliant upon the filters that the software people create for me. And that's us challenging those software providers to give us solutions to protect us from those who don't like us. They just like to make money on us.
Yeah. And there's a lot to unpack here, certainly, that it's coming, but it's coming. There's certainly things that are coming here. And Mike Lauslot is saying some great stuff here, like start requiring prepayment. I'm with you, Mike. I think there's what happens on this point is golf course owners and operators for a long time will listen to the loudest voices, not necessarily the most voices on their customer base, right? So if you got a few squawkers, I don't want to prepay. Joe that's been playing there for 20 years complains about prepaying, so you don't do it because that's the voice in your ear. But when you roll it out and 99 out of 100 people do it and don't question it, you think it's good for my business, and I'm glad I did it. That tends to be how these things roll out sometimes, these fearful things. Go ahead.
But Lasty, I don't think that's the answer, bro. I mean, what's wrong? Prepayment. That opens up the door. I can go buy a Saturday morning at Troon right now and prepay it, and then tell my buddies, hey, who wants to play Saturday? Pay me with Venmo this much, and I'll give you this Saturday tee time. I don't think prepayment is the answer to this. It's a little deeper than that.
Well, I think it's an answer to a lot of the problems that happen, the no-show issue and all of that. I mean,
is that what he's saying?
Well, no, just overall, I think he's saying that's step one. Like certainly in the Los Angeles market, making that deposit, prepaying, all of that would guarantee that these folks that are grabbing them up with no risk and reselling them, right? That's the problem. You grab it up with no risk and you can resell them. That's quite a business. But the one thing that
does that. Ticket scalper buys the ticket with their own money. They prepay the tickets knowing that they can resell them. I mean, who knows? Could there be a time they're out at Augusta Ranch on my Sod Rock right now selling an 8 o'clock? Hey, anybody want an 8 o'clock? I got an 8 o'clock. Making sure they're not on my property, but they're on my sidewalk so they can sell my tee times. I mean, hey, dude, golf is booming. So look out. Now we got new problems.
Well,
they're better.
The one thing I know, the one thing that I'm looking forward to seeing happen possibly with the secondary market, if it starts flourishing in the golf industry in some way, is the visibility that owners and operators don't have right now into how much people are willing to pay for a tee time. You set your price. If you sell it out, yes, you know that people are willing to pay because they paid for it, right? But do you know what they were willing to pay for? How high would they go? You don't really. I mean, these Taylor Swift, these tickets and what I paid for Adele tickets in Vegas last year. Oh my God, it's like, the face value versus what's actually being paid. That gap. Not saying that every golf course owner should look at that and say, "Oh man, I'm going to raise my rates now. I'm going to double them." Not that's not necessarily the best move, but it gives you some data to know. Holy cow! All my Saturday morning tee times went for 45% more. They resold for 45% more than I was asking. Like, what does it tell you? And you didn't. That's something you never would have known in the past. So just something to think about. Food for thought there. Okay, let's change topics.
Yep.
I want to talk a little bit about you'd actually want to talk a little bit about this. I want to hear why. Like, it's a total departure from what we were talking about, but staff mental health. What's on your mind about mental health right now? Because you wanted to surface that here in this conversation.
Well, I did, obviously, when people commit suicide, and I mean, why wouldn't you talk about it? And to assume that it only happens when you're playing for millions, I think is incorrect. It also happens when you're trying to get millions to play. And so I worry about the 31,000. I worry about the 20,000 superintendents. I worry about all the members of the NGCOA, the golf course owners out there. Isn't it interesting? I got a little sick last week, and I'm sure it was being on the road for 6 weeks. And then, and I sucked it up for one day and I laid in bed, and then I had to fly out the next day. And I felt terrible on the inside, but I was trying to make everybody feel like I wasn't sick, right? Because you don't want to be coughing on a plane. Everybody's going to think you got COVID. And yeah, it's gone away, but people give you a look now if you're coughing. So you try to make it sound like a tickle, even though it might be something more than that. And the reason when we talked about what we were going to talk about today is I started thinking, why is mental health any different? I did not feel 100% when I was spending time with Katie Saturday, Sunday. And I tried to do my best to fight through it because I wanted to spend time with her. And why is physical health any different than mental health? Now, I can clearly tell somebody, yeah, I was a little sick last week and I'm not feeling really good. Oh, that's why you're different, Don. You were a little more quiet today. I knew something was off. But mental health, we don't share and we hide it. And we don't feel right. And then that even builds on itself. And hey, I'm no expert. All I know is that when you're going to tell me whether it's, something wrong with the grass at Augusta Ranch, if it's something wrong with my balance sheet, but if it's something wrong with my staff, what are the signs that I need to be looking for, right? Preventative herbicide applications, preventative fertilizer applications, those are always way more powerful than if you've got it already. And that's the same for anything. And so I think the PGA of America, and we've got a member assistance program that some of our members can reach out to. It's free, and it's great. I hope our members reach out to it. But sometimes you feel like you're the only one who's got that issue. It's like, and I just find it, I think it's something that needs to be talked about, that we have to be intentional of, one, making sure that everybody knows that our facilities, that we're available at any time to text me if you're going through something. I want to know, I want to know. I'm looking you in the eye. I want to know what's wrong, and let me in, and then I can get you help, or we can talk about it. I just think, I think it's time to start talking more about it. People have talked about it in the past, Jay, and kind of goes away because, I don't know, nobody wants to talk about mental health too long because it's sad. But yet I know my mom battled it. I know a lot of people in my life have battled it. And whether this is anger management, because you don't know how to anger, so now you get fired because you said the wrong thing, or it's just, I can't go into work today. Like, more people are using PTO time. It used to be sick day, so you had to act like you were sick in order to get the day off. I do applaud the fact that now we've got personal time off and we can just call in and go, dude, I'm not seeing it. And I know some people worry, that maybe we're getting soft on people. But right now, with everything that's coming at us through social media, I think we have to be very intentional about finding out what's happening with our staffs, because they're going through stuff we don't know, and they're busier than they ever been. And we think that their paycheck is what fulfills them. And that's not true.
I'm thinking of it from the employer standpoint. Obviously, it's kind of the lens I look through with NGCOA, and just maybe we could explore conversations about, and we did this actually through the Smart Buy program. We had a program going on where employers could offer mental health benefits to their team, therapy. I mean, that's got to be kind of cobbled in together with the traditional physical, health insurance programs is what insurance is being provided to your employees for mental health coverage. If it's this important, obviously, right, to people, if we're coming around that mental health is as important or maybe more important than some of the physical health issues that we deal with that we're not afraid to deal with, not afraid to talk about, well then, do we put our money where our mouth is, and do we bring on mental health benefits for our team, and what does that look like? Because a lot of insurance companies don't cover therapy, right? But there are supplemental programs. So that's something to think about. Maybe, Don, we can talk about that offline a little bit, is like, what can we bring to the people working in this industry from a mental wellness benefit, right? It's definitely up and coming in the benefits world, but it still doesn't seem like it has hit mainstream with just like your HMOs and PPOs and all this kind of stuff, right? So I like this topic a lot. Maybe maybe the PGA and NGCOA and GCSA and CMAA, maybe we can work together to see if there's something out there on this to offer employees the hundreds of thousands and millions that work in and around the golf industry, right?
Amen. And we know that we're running at 110% capacity right now. So come on, man. It's got to be happening. So yeah, and I think hey, 57-year-old manager here, I don't get it. I try to, my daughter's 21. She's going through stuff at college, right? She's doing amazing. But what are some questions that I could ask that would maybe get her to talk to me about stuff? And I'm not making this about Katie. I mean, God bless her. She's doing amazing, right? But I'm just saying, if I care that way about my daughter, I care that way about my son, I certainly care that way about everybody here at Augusta Ranch. Protect me from myself a little bit. I don't want to have a blind spot for something like this. Are there questions? Are there cues that I could be looking for so that I could at least pull that thread that maybe gets them talking about it? And then we get to talk about it, whatever that means. So yeah, let's do that. I think it's time, right? Because we've never been under the stress we're under like we are right now in the golf industry because of how busy we are.
That's true. You're right. Well, maybe this is the beginning of an interesting conversation for the associations to address for sure. Let's see what we can do. I like this a lot. We've talked about how playing golf is good for your mental health, right? But just like when COVID was stimulating this super demand for golf pros to basically be watching this demand, not participating in the demand. I got to manage the demand. I don't get to play. I don't get to enjoy this myself. I'm just burning the candle at both ends now. It's kind of like that. Hey, golf is great for your mental health. Look at all these people getting out and taking care of their mental health. But if you're suffering, what are we doing, to help those team members? So, no, great topic, Don. Thanks for bringing that up. So there are some interesting questions that are surfacing here I'm going to get to in a minute. But the one last question I wanted to ask you was on something that you had texted me a while back, and it's a great question. It's not even a rhetorical question. It is. And you only have a couple minutes on this one, Don. Okay.
I know. I see the time.
Why are we the only sport where the instructor never sees the student play the actual game? I thought that's a really good question.
That's Will Robbins. Will Robbins and I, we talked about a month ago. I met with him, and I appreciate him. He's the one who's basically created the PGA Modern Coach for the PGA of America. He's sending out our seminars and stuff. But he brought that up to me, and all my brain exploded because I cannot imagine coaching Katie's softball team. The reason we did drills is because I witnessed during the game that we didn't know first to third. We didn't know bunt drill, couldn't hit a cutoff person. And so the next practice, what did we cover? The very things that happened in the game. And yet we do not do that as golf professionals. So I'm on a mission now, baby. I am on a mission that game assessments, playing with our students is mandatory because you can't fix someone how to play the game by fixing their swing. That ain't what it is. It's a little bit. But I'm telling you right now, managing yourself and your game on a golf course is more important than centerness of contact, because I know a lot of people hit it in the center and they still don't play very well because they pull the wrong club out all the time. Wrong club, wrong shot. So yes, I'm on a mission. Let's get these game assessments out there. It's not about giving lessons for $1 a minute. It's about getting people on a golf course and seeing how they play.
I like that a lot because everything is situational on the course. Every situation, every 2 minutes, you got a different situation. But when you're
You're
at a range
nervous.
or in a simulator, it's standardized, right? I know you could probably do some interesting drills and aim this and do that, what have you, but it doesn't feel the same. You're right. I like this. I like where this is going. I like where the pendulum is swinging the other way. When you look at the arc of history with the PGA professional and the staff at golf courses, just playing with, being with the customers, and then it's about let's turn them into bean counters. Let's turn them into to only run the business and and we'll figure out how to take care of the customer. Now the pendulum's swinging back to let's be out there with the customers. So I like this. I
Amen.
think we still need a little bit more help on the operational side figuring this out, like the blueprints. We've talked a lot about this, but let's get this blueprint together of what does it really mean? Who do you hire to do what if my professionals are out there playing golf for how many hours are they doing this? And getting your mind around that, who's going to do this back here? That's what we got to figure out, is what is the blueprint to make this happen? Because this sounds really good, but to make operational changes like that, to move the org chart around and job descriptions around, that feels risky to the average business owner, right? And so what do we do on that? I think is our next question. A couple interesting questions from Facebook here. We've got my buddy Dave Norman. Any news on the Olympics coming up? Of what you anticipate happening in France next month, right?
Yeah, John will go to that. I don't go to the Olympics as vice president, so I'm just happy we moved the PGA Championship to May back in the 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever years ago, because otherwise the PGA Championship in August would always be impacted by the Olympics. So all I know is I'm glad now that the Olympic players can be selected with their play in the PGA Championship instead of not even concerning it with them because of the timeline of it all. So I hope America wins a gold medal. I like gold medals. I like when America wins gold medals.
Yeah, let's see if we can get the whole country behind all of the American players. Wouldn't that be great? That'd be a good thing.
Amen.
So, yeah, a couple things I want to make sure the audience knows about before we close out here in a few minutes. Is one, we've got a webinar tomorrow for NGCOA members and PGA members. NGCOA members, you should have seen an email that went out about this Department of Labor overtime rule tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. PGA members, the 5 things to know email that's coming out, I think tomorrow as well. Look for the link in that today or tomorrow to join the webinar. And this is all about the new rules with overtime rules and the new thresholds of salaries that are going up, and analyzing who should be paid overtime, who not, and do you make the decision to raise someone's pay so that they, you're not paying them overtime, and figuring all that out. The Biden administration is starting to move that salary north. I know there are some lawsuits going out there about all of this, but right now, I think next month there's a new threshold for the low salary now for overtime examination. So take a look at that. Join us tomorrow. We have some great lawyers and attorneys on this that'll be leading the discussion. So we look forward to having you at that. Again, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Look out also for the upcoming NGCOA Golf Simulator white paper. This is going to be a paper that's really gets into more details about not just why you should do it, but some of the stories. What do you have to consider to actually build out a golf entertainment business at your facility from a physical plant standpoint, P&L standpoint, staffing? So we dive a little bit deeper into that topic, and that's written by David Gould, one of our longtime writers for Golf Business Magazine, and sponsored by About Golf Simulators. That this is about how to tap into that non-golfer market and marry that with your golfers and build this business. As you have done with Top Tracer Range. So I guess maybe the next question for you, Don, is when are you going to build out a 10 simulator facility at Augusta Ranch and do more business there? Is the simulator business in your windshield?
Yeah, it's way out there though. I'm just trying to still manage Top Tracer. I mean, it's ridiculous. We'll do over $700,000 in Top Tracer this year. I estimate, which, before Top Tracer is $100,000. So crazy. But this is why isn't everybody a member of the NGCOA? I don't get it. Are you out there thinking like, oh, well, I'm not a golf course owner, I can't be a member of the NGCOA? Listen, the stuff that you provide, Ronnie Miles, awesome. The stuff that you come out with, it's a must read for me all the time. I know I tell everybody and anybody, I mean, you're the best deal in golf right now, and the best insurance plan, by the way. But I think insurance being that if you know what you're getting into, it's going to save you something, right? But yeah, keep doing what you're doing, man. I applaud you and your board and your new president, Kathy Harbin, for
Kathy's the
making
best.
things happen. Loved
Yeah.
coming to your meeting at DC because.
Oh no, he froze up on us again, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I'm going to end the show here. At a couple of things. One, I want to give a shout out to my good friend Rhett Evans, the CEO of the GCSAA, who made it to the summit of Mount Everest, I guess about a week ago or so now. He's back in the States. He's back home safe. But man, what a journey. If you weren't following him on social media, boy, I would go back and find Rhett and go down the breadcrumb trail and look at his posts for the past couple months. Congratulations to my good friend Rhett for accomplishing that feat with, I think something like barely 7,000 human beings have done that in the history of mankind. So congratulations, Rhett, and we're glad you're home. Elaine said, good one, Elaine. That was a cliffhanger that Don leaves right when we're talking about Rhett Evans and Mount Everest. Good work. Thank you, Elaine. You're the best. That's so good. So we'll see Rhett soon at the US Open next week, actually. But so the last thing is mark your calendars for our next Golf Business Live, July 8th, a Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, for the July episode of Golf Business Live. Until then, thank you for joining us, Don. It's good to see you, my friend.
It's good to see you, brother. Have a good day.
You too. Take care, everybody.